Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
What kind of gong show is this government running in Interior Health?
Demands for a full review after a CBC Fifth Estate investigation reveals a massive data breach from a BC health authority.
Privacy of personal information is, of course, an incredibly serious matter.
Plus,
that's bull, you know.
Takes away from the community center itself.
pay parking could be coming to some Vancouver community centers and an outdoor pool.
We hope that you will recognize that paid parking is an important tool to improve user experience.
And
at the 11th hour, the party pulls the rug out from the one candidate that was expected actually to win the nomination.
a retiring Conservative MP is endorsing a well-known independent in a Fraser Valley riding. The latest on the federal campaign and the leaders' debates.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. BC's opposition is demanding a full review after a CBC Fifth Estate investigation revealed tens of thousands of current and former employees of Interior Health have had their personal information stolen and some of it used by fraudsters. Katie DeRosa has our top story.
Their personal information has been hacked and stolen.
Anger during question period after the CBC's Fifth Estate found that thousands of people had their personal information, including SIN numbers, stolen through a massive breach of employees' personal information from Interior Health.
When was this government aware of this breach? And how come employees like BC nurse Leslie Warner was never made aware that her account was hacked and her private information had been stolen?
The Fifth Estate says Leslie Warner is one of several Interior Health staff whose identities were stolen and used to obtain bogus CRA refunds and fraudulent loans in recent years. The Fernie woman was mistakenly arrested in 2022 in connection with a fraud ring being run out of Alberta. The real culprit was the imposter who had been using her identity since 2020. RCMP in the Okanagan began investigating last January after a document uncovered during an unrelated investigation contained personal information, including some obtained through the Interior Health data breach. An anonymous source shared with the Fifth Estate a list of names they said were stolen from Interior Health. The source says they obtained the list from sellers operating on the dark web who sold the information for about $1,000 through an encrypted Telegram app set up in 2017. CBC News has not independently verified the existence of the Telegram group. The breach includes social insurance numbers, home addresses, and birth dates of more than 28,000 employees who worked at Interior Health between 2003 and 2009.
All the appropriate steps have been taken by Interior Health, and of course, they continue to bolster their security systems.
But BC's opposition leader says that's not good enough and wants a systemic review to identify weak spots in how health authorities guard personal data.
This is a sign of a failure within the healthcare system.
In a statement, Interior Health said their technical experts believe the information breached is from 2009, and since then, they've made significant upgrades to security systems. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
Vancouver's newest city councillors are now on the job after being sworn into office. As Justin McElroy explains, while their inclusion does not upend Ken Sims' ABC majority, the pair have options for representing voters.
The City of Vancouver officially has 2 new councillors.
I will be accountable for the decisions that I make and the actions that I take in the course of my duties.
Sean Orr and Lucy Maloney being sworn in at City Hall Tuesday morning before a council meeting, officially completing a process that began a week and a half ago when they were elected in a by-election, replacing outgoing councillors Christine Boyle, now an NDP MOA, and longtime Green councillor Adrian Carr, who decided to retire. Now, with these 2 additions, ABC still has a 7-4 majority on council, meaning Mayor Ken Sims' agenda still can go through with relatively little chance of being voted down. But Orr and Maloney can bring bring forward motions to council, they can put forward amendments, they can ask questions to staff, and they can use their political capital on council to decide what issues to bring up of interest to their voters. Now, their first order of business today after being sworn in, a regularly routine council meeting. The only major item on the agenda, an expansion of the city's hotel policy to allow more hotels along the Broadway line and certain areas of downtown. But this evening, a public hearing on the Jericho lands, a massive new development proposed by the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people who owned that parcel of land. Now, this won't change what happens in the short term, as it's only a redevelopment plan, not the official rezoning, and council unanimously approved a policy plan last year that informs what this development plan looks like. But a big part of being a city councillor is listening to the people on what they have to say, and Oren Maloney will do that tonight and for the 18 months going forward until the general election. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
Parking fees at some Vancouver community centres and one outdoor pool could be in place this summer. Staff with the park board say the fees are needed to manage busy parking lots and create more revenue. But as Chad Pawson reports, residents and commissioners aren't as convinced.
One of Vancouver's busiest community centers where competition for parking spots is high.
It's very, very busy here.
I find it challenging.
It's like pulling blood from a stone, man.
What about charging for parking, though, to free up spots, improve drop-off areas, and even EV charging?
That's you know. We pay a huge of property taxes, you know. They're collecting a lot of money.
It takes away from the community center itself, which is a public amenity that people like to enjoy.
Unpopular though it may sound, park board staff say it's a good idea.
Staff recognize that nobody likes paid parking and that there may be some concerns. But we hope that you will recognize that paid parking is an important tool to improve user experience, reduce congestion, and better manage parking within our spaces.
The Vancouver Park Board has 180 parking lots. Most are free, with about a dozen with paid parking in Stanley Park, the West Side, and at Queen Elizabeth Park. In 2024, they earned $9.4 million in revenue. A staff plan calls to expand paid parking this summer for a pilot project at 4 popular parks or community centers and at one of the city's 5 outdoor seasonal pools. In the fall, the pilot program would expand to 2 golf courses and Van Dusen Botanical Garden. Elected officials are worried over the plan as presented, however, for its potential to create conflict and ill will if not properly done.
I myself am very hesitant on charging people fees for parking in recreation facilities or golf courses. I think it's more of a hindrance than an asset.
In the end, Park Board commissioners put the brakes on any pilot project. They want more details from staff over how it could affect programs at community centers or even simply going to a park. They also want to make sure any revenue goes directly to capital and operating expenses. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Vancouver.
After months of consideration, the city of Surrey has finally approved licenses for 8 cannabis stores. As Saurabh Sandhu reports, that decision came down to a tight vote Monday night.
It's a beautiful balance.
Surrey residents will soon be able to buy cannabis within city limits, with 8 new business licenses approved by council.
All in favor?
Last November, council had unanimously approved a staff report allowing 8 operators to apply for rezoning and business licenses. On Monday night, councillors voted to issue business licenses to those operators. The mayor of Surrey and 4 other councillors voted against it after a lengthy public hearing process.
Cannabis is one of those things not everybody is comfortable with, myself included. And so there was a very, very open and active public hearing on that.
The city says its current plan will allow only 2 cannabis stores in each of its 6 town centres. The approved stores will open in South Surrey, Cloverdale, Guildford, Fleetwood and Newton.
The city has been doing our due diligence to make sure that what we do is going to be responsible for our city.
There have long been calls for Surrey to allow cannabis retail shops to operate in the city, which is one of the fastest growing communities in BC.
I do not take cannabis, but in any case, people have choices to what they like to do in life. So long they keep to the law, right?
I would say cannabis is more safer than hard drugs.
I feel like it's going to change the overview of the youth, how youth is reacting right now. Like the whole dynamic will change in the city.
Under the rules, cannabis retail stores must set up shop at least 200 meters from schools, community centers, recreation centers. Councillor Linda Ennis voted in favor of the motion.
People that are using cannabis that live in Surrey are either having to order it in cities around us, for an example, in Delta or other cities, so we'll be able to get the economic benefit here. But even more importantly, oftentimes people are using cannabis for medicinal purposes. They'll have ready access to it when they want it and need it.
The Surrey Board of Trade, which has long advocated for cannabis businesses in the city, says the approval will support economic growth, create jobs and diversify municipal revenue streams. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
It's been just over a month since Canada threw up retaliatory tariffs against the United States. Benit Brach has been checking in on how some BC businesses are faring.
This fishing gear shop has been feeling the tides turn in a trade war. As popular American inventory runs low, this business owner says he has little option but to pay up, feeling the financial pain of Canada's 25% counter tariffs.
We're looking at substantial increases to prices. We just don't have any other options.
He's also worried about their products that come from abroad and go to American distribution centers before coming to Canada.
All these items will have significant tariffs when they land into the United States, and then when they bring it up into Canada, we'll have to pass on the tariff that they had to pay to the consumer at the end of the day. You're probably looking at 100% of the inventory is going to have a price increase. This is a $1,000 rod, now it's $1,300. And the sales on it have literally just stopped.
These fly lines, one of their bread and butter products, are being hit hard with tariffs.
To put 25% on top is just pushing most people to the point where they're going to say no. It's tough. You know, it could mean some significantly reduced numbers. I hate to use the word layoffs.
On March 4th, Canada announced 25% retaliatory tariffs on $30 billion in goods imported from the U.S. Then, just after President Donald Trump launched tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, Canada clapped back, again with an additional 25% tariffs on $29.8 billion worth of products.
So everyday items from umbrellas to candles and even kitchenware are just some of the American goods that are being tariffed.
Even this gem shop is facing a rocky time amid the trade war.
Hey, we've got a tariff on silver now and other jewelry metals like that. We haven't passed on the full 25% tariff to the customers. We've bumped the price by about 18%.
He says they source much of their exotic rocks and gems from trade shows in the U.S., and he feels uncertain about their global suppliers and if they'll even be at future shows.
It's the uncertainty that's the biggest issue.
And as businesses pay the price, worries grow. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses says it surveyed just over 3,900 businesses in March. 61% of importers reported facing increased costs for goods and supplies. 40% said profits are down.
I think most small businesses recognize that we've got to do something to push back against U.S. tariffs, and this is the recipe. Now, would that tolerance last if, in fact, the Canadian counter tariffs are in place for months or years? I don't know.
The Canadian government has announced new support measures for certain kinds of businesses. This includes a 6-month tariff reprieve for those who import American goods that are used for Canadian manufacturing, processing, food and beverage packaging. And the temporary relief will also apply to goods used to support public health, healthcare, public safety, and national security objectives. Benit Brach, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius Madavi is here with our first look at the weather on another sunny day.
Yes, sunny pretty much everywhere in BC. Along the BC-Alberta border, including up around Dawson Creek and around Revelstoke, there has been a little bit of light precipitation, some showers, some high-elevation flurries. Here on the south coast, though, pretty much nothing but blue skies across the entirety of the coast. We had a little bit of cloud this morning that cleared out pretty quickly. And for the next few days, expect not much difference. Very little cloud anywhere. Beautiful sunny skies across the board. And as we'll talk about later, temperatures here on the South Coast are going to keep climbing a couple degrees at a time each day.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Affordability, crime, and Donald Trump. We're going to chat with federal voters in the Okanagan next. We've been hitting the streets across BC this federal election, asking what issues matter to you. The CBC's Kimberly Davidson recently went to Penticton.
I'm Kimberly Davidson in Penticton, BC, in the South Okanagan, a city of almost 50,000 people. It is a resort community known for its mild weather, beaches and lakes, as well as a vibrant wine industry. But like any growing city, it does have its challenges. CBC has come to Penticton to ask people here what matters to them ahead of the federal election.
Sarah Vanderhoeven owns the Junction 3 Coffee House by Skaha Lake. She's getting ready to open it up for the tourist season. She says what matters to her ahead of the federal election
is her ability to run her business.
3 key things for me. Tax cuts. I'm looking to support a candidate in the election that is looking to reduce the tax effect on small business. Second one for me would be deregulation. Red tape needs to go. And the third one is cost-effective energy. When we're getting gas bills that are 40 to 50% more than what we were seeing last year, we have a definite problem there.
Downtown, focuses are more personal. What matters ahead of the election in your life?
Just the economy. Just wish I knew, like, yeah, I'm not gonna lose my job. I will still be able to afford my groceries. That's really it for now, at least.
I would say the cost of living is huge, and again, for here, I think we have a big problem with crime.
We're going to vote for whoever is going to do the best dealing with Trump.
And at the Penticton Indian Band office, talk turns to truth and reconciliation.
For me, it's hard to, choose the candidate that I think is going to represent us as a people in a good and fair, equitable manner. I hear a lot of rhetoric, but words are just words. Actions is what I'm looking for.
And here, in the Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay riding, 5 candidates are hoping to prove they are the one that can tackle these issues. Kimberly Davidson, CBC News, Penticton.
An outgoing Conservative MP in the Fraser Valley is now endorsing an independent rather than his party's pick. Ed Fast is now backing longtime former MLA Mike de Jong in the new riding of Abbotsford South Langley. Earlier this year, de Jong said the Conservative Party had rejected him as a candidate. Instead, it nominated 25-year-old blueberry farmer and businessman Sukhman Singh Gill. Ed Fast says he still supports a Conservative government getting elected. However,
it's profoundly dishonest how for a full year you have a number of candidates who've campaigned vigorously. They've signed up thousands of members to the party. And then at the 11th hour, the party pulls the rug out from the one candidate that was expected actually to win the nomination.
de Jong says he's honored to have Fast's support. The Conservative Party still hasn't explained why it rejected his candidacy. The RCMP is investigating a possible pipeline explosion north of Fort St. John that has killed one person and injured another on Monday night. Tourmaline Oil, which produces natural gas in the region, says a fire broke out at its Gundy gas plant about 150 kilometers north of the city. BC's energy regulator says workers at a plant struck a pipe, sparking the fire. There's the top of the Stoke chair at Mount Revelstoke, where it is still ski and board season. Darius has your BC-wide forecast after this.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
As we inch closer to federal election day, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is campaigning in Montreal. He says he will revive the increase in the capital gains tax. It's what the Liberal government had planned in the last budget, but eventually scrapped.
New Democrats are committed to fighting for you and your family, are committed to a tax system that is more fair, to investing in you, investing in the services that you need, not giving tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires.
Singh says the decision to cancel the increase means a loss of $19 billion over the next 5 years. Money, he says, could be used on health care and expanding pharmacare. Singh argues the entire Liberal Party was in favor of the plan, then suddenly flip-flopped. Meanwhile, Liberal leader Mark Carney is also in Quebec ahead of the French language debate. He's promising more help for Canadian workers who want to learn new skills.
Today, I'm announcing that my government will launch a new sector-specific mid-career training and upskilling benefit in priority sectors: manufacturing, construction, tech, and artificial intelligence.
Carney says the benefit will provide up to $15,000 per person per skills training in those areas of critical need in the economy. He also pledged to boost employers who want to retain workers and grow their companies. Back in Montreal, meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre announced a new element of his tough-on-crime agenda. If elected, he says his government would create legislation to protect seniors from phone and online fraud.
We're going to pass the Stop Scamming Seniors Act, a common-sense law that forces banks and telecom companies to deploy state-of-the-art technology to catch scams and stop them before they happen, not after, when it is too late.
Poilievre says those institutions will automatically have to flag and block suspicious activity like robocalls and dodgy transactions, and will need to report how they're stopping fraud. He says banks and telecoms who don't do enough to prevent senior scams could face penalties of up to $5 million. His proposed law would also increase fines and include mandatory jail sentences for fraudsters. Tomorrow's French leaders' debate, meanwhile, is at a change of schedule because of a pivotal hockey game. The French debate now takes place tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific time. It will be broadcast live with simultaneous English translation on CBC News Network and everywhere you stream CBC News. And you can watch the federal leaders' English debate on Thursday starting at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. It will be broadcast live here on CBC Television, CBC News Network, and everywhere you stream CBC News. And, of course, we'll have post-debate coverage right here. Japanese automaker Honda has confirmed it is not pulling out of Canada after an early morning report says it was moving vehicle production elsewhere. As Kate McKenna reports, the news sent shockwaves across the auto sector and the election campaign trail.
Just the threat of these Honda assembly lines grinding to a halt prompted a wave of tough talk and promises from Canadian politicians.
We will fight, we will protect, and we will build.
It all started when a Japanese news outlet reported Honda was considering moving Canadian jobs to the United States in response to Donald Trump's auto tariffs. After talking to the company, Ontario's premier shot that down quickly.
Well, we're going to keep Honda here, and I'll do everything I can to protect the people and their jobs.
Honda Canada issued a statement to, as it said, clarify and correct the report, saying its Ontario plant will operate at full capacity for the foreseeable future, and no changes are being considered at this time.
I don't want to discount anxiety over it. The reality is that company is never pulled back in Canada from crisis.
Ottawa also announced more incentives to fight the effects of Trump's tariffs. Automakers will be partially exempt from counter tariffs on U.S. assembled cars so long as they keep operating in Canada. And other manufacturers will get a 6-month pause on paying some counter tariffs on items like food packaging to allow time to rejig supply chains.
There is no going back. We, in Canada, we will have to build a new relationship with the United States.
Federal party leaders, including Mark Carney, all positioned themselves as best suited to defend Canadian jobs.
We need to really fight back and get these tariffs removed, make sure that we can strengthen our automobile sector.
What we should do is focus on what we can control. and that is to reverse the disastrous Liberal economic policies that Mr. Carney advised Trudeau to take.
These on-again, off-again threats add to uncertainty across the country and could end up being the ballot question in this federal election. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Montreal.
The White House is reaffirming Donald Trump's position on Canada, saying he still thinks this country ought to be the 51st state. But as Katie Simpson shows us, there are also new signs he could scale back his tariffs on Canada's auto sector.
U.S. President Donald Trump has gone weeks now without mentioning his desire to have Canada become the 51st state. So we asked the White House press secretary,
which outlet are you with? The Canadian Public Broadcaster. Oh, nice to see you. Thank you.
whether Trump has changed his mind.
Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. The president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America.
Amid annexation concerns, Trump's trade war continues to sow uncertainty for Canadian businesses, and in particular, the auto sector. While there are some carve-outs for CUSMA-compliant components, the U.S. has 25% tariffs on foreign-made autos, with new tariffs on foreign-made auto parts set to kick in by May 3rd.
Yesterday, in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like.
So I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks.
As for Trump's negotiations and talks with America's trading partners and rivals, tensions are mounting. Chinese President Xi Jinping arriving in Malaysia, the second stop on his reassurance tour, as he tries to present Beijing as a reliable trading partner. In the face of external uncertainties, China will insist on joining hands rather than throwing punches, this Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman says. If those tensions are going to ease, the White House is looking to Beijing to make a move.
The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them.
Katie Simpson reporting from Washington. Canada's inflation rate fell last month. Statistics Canada says it dipped to 2.3%, down from 2.6% in February. Falling gasoline prices were the biggest factor. StatsCan says lower airfares and tour prices also came down in March as fewer Canadians traveled south. The inflation numbers are the last bit of economic data to come out before the Bank of Canada announces its next interest rate setting on Wednesday. The tariff turmoil is also taking a toll on Canada's housing market. The Canadian Real Estate Association says the number of home sales and home prices fell in March. Sales were down almost 5% from February, the fourth monthly drop in a row, while the national average home price is down almost 4% from this time last year to just over $678,000. CREA is also downgrading its forecast for the coming year, saying the housing market has gone from a slam dunk to treading water at best because of economic uncertainty. To help us better understand what this economic uncertainty means for people trying to get into the housing market and what we can expect in the months ahead, we're joined by Steve Suretsky, a Vancouver-based real estate advisor with Suretsky Group. Steve, good to have you here. What does the current mood look like for, first of all, those who want to sell something?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the expectations have to shift, which is, it's taking longer to sell. The days of selling in a week or two are long gone, and it's more like a month or two. And so, that, and then obviously I think on price is everybody wants to negotiate today. If you're going to enter into an uncertain market and purchase, buyers want to feel like they're being compensated. And so sellers are really having to negotiate.
Does it feel like a more balanced market at this point between buyers and sellers?
It really depends on the product type. I'd say in general, I would say conditions typically favor the buyer, particularly in the condo market where there's, quite a lot of inventory building. So it really depends on market type, but in general, buyers tend to have the upper hand today.
Mm-hmm. And what does the cooling market look like for people, again, looking to buy that first home if they can raise it right? Now, you mentioned the condo market, but if they're looking for something larger, what about that?
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's, I think at the end of the day, I think most people still, the dream of owning a single family house is still alive and well. And I think the reality is it's become almost a luxury type of product. we're not really building any more of it. And so that market tends to be tighter supply. There's still, things are still moving quite well in that segment of the market. I think where we're really seeing the issues and the pain is in these new condos, the pre-construction market. People paid too much money there. And then, the investor type of condos where the math just doesn't work anymore. And I think the prospects of future home price appreciation has dimmed significantly. And so a lot of investors are just saying, why do I own this? What's the outlook here? And so we're seeing more of them adding, selling their properties and adding to the inventory.
We have heard talk of a recession in this country, possibly around the world, possibly. What does that mean for the Canadian housing market?
I think, job losses are a quick way to mortgage defaults. It's what keeps the big banks up the most. It's not, slower economy or, people can manage through. When you lose your job, it's pretty hard to service a mortgage. And so that would be the big concern. Obviously, mortgage defaults on a relative historical basis are still incredibly, incredibly low today, but they are rising from a record low base. And obviously, if you get a recession and job losses, I would expect more delinquencies in that space, more foreclosures coming to the market.
And lastly, we appreciate your time. What's some quick advice for someone who may be looking to enter the market right now?
I think you're in the upper hand. So I think it's a buyer's market. Take advantage of that. Go in there, negotiate, be aggressive, take your time, and you actually can get through proper due diligence. You're not competing with a whole bunch of buyers and having to come in with no conditions, no inspection. Buyers really have the upper hand in most circumstances. And so I think it's a time to sort of be patient, find a product that you like, that you're going to live in for the next, 5 to 7 years. Negotiate.
Steve Suretsky, a Vancouver-based real estate advisor with the Suretsky Group. We appreciate your time and perspective. Thanks for joining us. It's a new tool orbiting the planet and might make forecasting all the more accurate. Johanna Wagstaff breaks down why a new satellite could improve forecasts and potentially save lives. Ever packed an umbrella, grabbed some sunscreen, or slapped on that hat only to find out things did not play out as forecast? Well, as Johanna Wagstaff explains, there's a new tool for forecasters that could make our own weather plans much easier.
A brand new weather satellite could be a big deal for more accurate forecasts. As a meteorologist, I'm genuinely excited about this. It includes cutting-edge new tools that will capture even more information, making it easier to see storms coming. But let me back this up. For half a century, we've had continuous satellite observations of Earth, a crucial part of modern weather forecasting. They help us track clouds, sea surface temperature, ice coverage, wind speed, and more. Honestly, I couldn't do my job without them. And now, the newest in the fleet, GOES 19, is officially operational for the Western Hemisphere after months of testing and tweaking. For the next decade or so, this new satellite will track Atlantic hurricanes, monitor severe weather, atmospheric rivers, wildfires, even volcanic eruptions, all from a very specific height above Earth. It's in a special orbit that always matches Earth's rotation, so it always has the same view. But want to know what my favorite feature is? A super cool lightning detector that tracks lightning continuously and everywhere. So that means when storms like hurricanes move out of radar range, we can still monitor them and send out warnings. We actually tested this latest version during Hurricane Helene in September 2024. Frequent lightning completely enveloped the eye wall of the storm as it intensified on its final approach to the Florida coastline. GOES 19 helped spot the most intense thunderstorms, most likely to produce tornadoes, giving forecasters the heads up to issue life-saving alerts. Another cool feature, a brand new instrument pointed straight at the sun, the coronagraph. This will make geomagnetic storm forecasts more accurate, which means we can be better prepared for the auroras and for the disruptions to technology. As for the previous satellite being replaced, it's been standing guard since 2017, but with a design life of 10 to 15 years, it's time for an upgrade. GOES 19 brings fresher sensors and updated tech. NOAA will move the old satellite to a parking orbit on standby in case it's ever needed again.
From one weather expert to another, Darius Madavi is here with our BC-wide weather forecast. It is very cool, though.
I know. Her excitement is infectious.
Oh, yeah, you can tell, huh?
Yeah. It is really cool. All the things that the satellite can do. I mean, Joe already covered it, but yeah, it is very exciting. Good stuff.
Yeah,
but you guys don't need it. My forecasts are always perfect anyway, so, you know, no difference for you. Speaking of which, so much sunshine in the forecast. And high pressure building in, keeping us nice and sunny. A bit of cloud did try to move in earlier this morning, but was quickly deflected away, which is why we got sunny skies here on the lower mainland. And temperatures are also going to be coming up over the next couple days, probably about a degree or so each day as we head into the rest of the week. Friday looks very similar to this, according to most models and Environment Canada, and I'm seeing the same thing, but this model in particular is just being a bit finicky and saying temperatures are coming down earlier than other models, so I'm not going to show you Friday on this model, but know that it looks pretty similar to Thursday, maybe a degree warmer even in some places. If we take a look at our temperatures across the province, you'll notice something pretty similar. There's a bit of a dip in the southern interior tomorrow in terms of those temperatures, some places falling as much as 2 to 5 degrees or so, but on Thursday they'll start to make a recovery, and Friday looks warmer in the interior as well. The only place where that is an exception is up here in the northwest and up down the north coast and into the central coast, because we are going to have some a bit of a system roll down there, bringing some precipitation, probably reaching the North Island by Friday afternoon. And you can see that here. Again, nothing really happening over the next couple of days. A few flurries or showers possible and unsettled conditions down in the southeast. But other than that, it's not until Friday we start to see that system start to roll down the coast. Here we go, Friday early morning hitting Haida Gwaii, starting to work its way down the north coast into the northwest, the central coast. Here in the afternoon on Friday, we have it hitting the North Island. Down beyond really just the tip of the North Island, we're probably only going to see some pretty scattered showers, and freezing levels will still be quite high, so don't expect any major snowfalls, no big windfalls for the ski resorts this time around, maybe some wet snow at those highest elevations. But as we get into the end of the week, alpine temperatures are going to be as much as 8 to 12 degrees. Again, even up at the tippy top here on the coast. So nice and warm, very much spring skiing conditions for sure. Again, bit of unsettled weather down here on in the southeast, but other than that, nice sunny skies. Easy 5-day forecast, Dan. Watch out for those inland temperatures, add 4 to 5 degrees to our forecast through Friday. And then Saturday, the inland matches us here on the coast.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much. Looks good. As Sudan marks the second year of a deadly civil war, some of those escaping the violence have found their way to safety here in Canada. But as Isalo Musa reports, it's only a fraction of refugees compared to those coming from other countries in crisis.
Ruwa El Mahi says her aunt collapsed and died after crossing the Sahara Desert into Egypt to escape the war in Sudan. She says her aunt had applied to come to Canada through a federal resettlement program, but her application was rejected because the program's cap had been met.
They're going through something that's very difficult and just disrupting their lives, and I'm here feeling so helpless.
The war between Sudan's army and the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary has killed an estimated 150,000 people. It's forced more than 13 million from their homes, and those who have managed to make it back are confronted with ruin.
They will come back and they will find their houses either looted or destroyed. The public services have been totally destroyed.
The United Nations says hunger has reached catastrophic levels, and a new report by Amnesty International reveals the use of sexual violence by members of the Rapid Support Forces as a weapon of war.
Women and girls are particularly vulnerable. There's really no protection of civilians at all right now throughout Sudan.
Sami Atabani knows this all too well. He's applied twice to bring his adopted sister and her 7 children to Canada. Atabani says their ethnicity makes them a major target.
Khulud is Darfuri. Genocide is committed against individuals like her.
Atabani believes the federal program to bring Sudanese refugees to Canada is moving too slowly, and he's not alone.
The nature of this program is around crisis response. Crisis response by nature means you need to bring people fast.
Tens of thousands of Afghans and Ukrainians have been admitted to Canada to escape conflict in the last few years. But only about 700 Sudanese have made it to Canada under the federal government's program. Experts and advocates warn more delays will only result in more deaths. Isalo Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
He arrived in Canada 4 days ago, but already this 19-year-old hockey phenom has Hockey Mad Montreal very, very excited. We'll introduce you to Ivan Demidov next.
You.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox. CBC returns as the exclusive media partner of the Doxa Documentary Film Festival, May 1st to 11th. Doxa presents an exceptional selection of films and events that cultivate curiosity and critical thought. Festival tickets at doxafestival.ca. And on May 15th, join CBC's Dan Burritt at the Surrey Board of Trade's Top 25 Under 25 Awards, celebrating initiatives of Surrey's youth. Tickets at businessinsurrey.com.
There's a lot of excitement in Montreal as the Habs' top prospect, Ivan Demidov, has arrived. He's finally set to make his debut with the team as they try to nab a spot in the NHL playoffs.
Brittany Henriquez takes a look at the hype surrounding the new star.
Ivan Demidov is the next big thing. That's all Habs fans have been hearing, and the hype is huge. Social media and news was flooded after he signed with the Canadiens, and fans were excited. Fans had a Demidov flight tracker monitoring the 19-year-old's trip from Russia to Canada. Posters of the player mimicking federal election signs appeared around the city as a part of a hockey brand's marketing campaign. And Demidov t-shirts have been flying off the shelves at the official Habs store. But could all this pressure for a teenager be too much? Could it get to Demidov?
If stress is not managed the right way, and he might question himself, overthinking might be the one thing that is coming. And now you have a top player that ends up playing like a bottom, third, fourth liner.
He invited that pressure. He wanted, he could have waited. It was up to him. He pushed to get his release. So I think he's welcoming the pressure.
Out in Russia.
Demidov was drafted 5th overall by the Canadiens in 2024. This season in Russia's KHL, he tallied 19 goals and 49 points in 65 games, setting a new KHL record for under 20 players. Then he was released from his KHL contract a month early and signed with the Habs in early April. And some who have watched him a lot say the hype makes total sense.
I would be very surprised if he disappoints in any regard. People should be excited because he's the most dynamic prospect to enter the NHL, I believe, since Connor McDavid.
Though his record might be impressive, some say Habs fans should manage their expectations. And there is that pressure, although Miller says there are ways to manage that.
I think welcoming him with the team, so any member of the staff, making sure that he's at ease, welcome, comfortable in the locker room will play a huge role. And also if I'm a head coach, Martin St. Louis, I'm finding ways to putting him in a situation where he will have success early on.
Overhyped or not, Demidov has Habs fans aiming for the ultimate win.
Ça sent la coupe.
Brittany Enriquez, CBC News, Montreal.
And Demidov made his NHL debut last night and lived up to at least some of the hype, notching both a goal and an assist.
Montreal did end up losing the game, though, in a shootout and is still on the hunt for a playoff spot with one game left.
Meanwhile, soccer fans, we're just one day away from the historic opening match of the Northern Super League soccer season. Vancouver Rise FC will host Calgary Wild FC at BC Place tomorrow night.
This match marks the official launch of Canada's first professional women's soccer league. And Vancouver's head coach says it's been a unique experience building the squad from the ground up.
We can't plan culture, we can't plan how the team comes together, but we have the opportunity to set and build the whole thing around values. Sometimes when you come in and take over a job, there are so many things you need to figure out. Can I change this now, or will this take time? We could just decide how we wanted to do this.
After the opening match, the Rise will play the rest of their games at Burnaby's Swangard Stadium.
More sports for you now. Vancouver has unveiled its official men's FIFA World Cup host city poster.
It was designed by BC artist and graphic designer Jamin Zarowski.
The award-winning artist of Ukrainian, Polish, and Nomgese First Nation descent says he was inspired by the city's natural elements and indigenous culture. He says he took 2 weeks to come up with that design.
I actually pushed all my school assignments away, and I was like, I need to do this. I need to put my whole heart into this, and cut down on all the noise of doing this and that in community. And I just focused on this. I thought it was really special.
This is the first time a Men's World Cup has introduced official host city-specific posters. The FIFA World Cup will take place summer 2026 with 7 matches hosted here in Vancouver. Cool stuff.
No kidding.
So
Gonna
many
be busy.
sports.
Sports, we love it.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6.
We'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.